You're listening to the Unstoppable Teen Podcast, episode number 15. Welcome to Unstoppable Teen, the podcast for teenagers, parents, and teachers. My name is Kevin Mincher. Every week, we will bring you an inspirational person or message to help you experience more success and happiness. Thanks for hanging out with us. Let's get this party started. Hello, Unstoppable Nation, it's Kevin here. Welcome to the show. In this episode, I'm going to show you how to get good grades in school, and here's why I'm going to focus on this. I got a Facebook message from Usman in Bradford this week, and he was telling me about how he messed around in school last year and he's just had an update regarding his grades and he's not doing as well as he had hoped. And finally, that bit of failure has given him the kick up the backside he needed to get his head screwed on correctly. He's now focused, he's feeling motivated, and he wants to do well between now and the end of this school year. And he asked me the question, what should I do? How can I get myself back on track? And my response I'm going to share with you in this podcast is going to be about 4 strategies that have been proven to improve school grades. These was research that was done by an organisation here in the UK called the Sutton Trust, and they looked at all kinds of methods that schools use to improve grades. For example, they might set homework or reduce class sizes so there are less students in a group and the teacher can have more one-to-one time. It might be going on field trips and doing extracurricular activities, having learning mentors in the classroom as extra staffing support. Schools use dozens of different techniques to help improve students' progress and achievement. And what's interesting is the Sutton Trust published their top 4 things that have been proven to make the biggest difference. They made the biggest difference in English, maths, science, and other subjects too. So I'm super psyched and really excited to be able to pass on these strategies to you today. Okay, if you want to get better grades, for that matter, if there's anything that you want to achieve, my top tip to you is go and find something that's proven to work. Go and get some evidence-based strategies. So I didn't invent these techniques that I'm about to share with you. It's the Sutton Trust research that I'm quoting. So without further ado, here, let's go for it. Number 1, the thing that has been proven to make the biggest difference in helping students succeed in school is feedback. I can hear some of you scratching your heads going, well, that's not what I thought he was going to say. I know, I didn't think it was going to be the top of the table either, but it turns out that giving and receiving feedback is something that's simple, it's free to do, and it makes the biggest difference to your grades in school. The question is, who do you need to give and receive feedback with, and how do you do it? If you're a student, you need to regularly have conversations with your teachers. And you need to ask them 2 questions. Number 1, what am I doing well? It's important that you know what you're doing well so you can keep doing it. If you're on track, if there's an area that you've mastered, that you've succeeded at, it's important that you know you're doing well in that area. And so you need to ask your teachers, what am I doing well? And keep doing those things. Second question you've got to ask is, what can I do better? And when you ask what you can do better, your teachers will be able to coach you, they'll be able to guide you. They'll be able to say, okay, it's this part of the curriculum, it's these elements of the subject where you're currently struggling and you need to spend more of your time. You see, if you know where you need to improve, you can make sure you put the time that you have available into the things that are going to make the biggest difference. Of course, if you never got the feedback, you could be wasting your time doing things that ain't going to make a difference. And we don't want you to waste that time. We want you to be efficient. We want you to be effective. Feedback needs to be a 2-way process. So not only do you get the feedback from your teacher about what you're doing well and what you can do better, but you need to give your teacher feedback also. Make sure you have their permission first, because not all teachers like this. In other words, what I'm saying is, not only should they be saying to you, this is what you're doing well and this is what you could do better, but you need to do exactly the same for them. You need to be able to say to your teacher, sir, miss, When you teach me like this, I really get it. It flows for me. You make it easy for me to understand and enjoy learning in your subject. But on the other hand, sir, miss, when you teach me like that, I'm really confused. It gets really difficult. And so if you could stop teaching me like that, but teach me more like this, that would really help me. Feedback is a two-way process. And so often I find in a lot of schools that I visit is that it's a one-way process, that the adults are telling the students what to do. Well, it needs to go the other way as well. And so for teachers that are listening, please encourage your students to give you feedback. Ask them questions. What am I doing well? What could I do better? And that enables you to hone your teaching and improve the learning experiences that you're providing for your students. Of course, parents that are listening, please encourage these dialogues to take place. And of course, you can give your child feedback and your child can give you feedback too. It's almost like, heck, we've now got a three-way feedback mechanism going on. So we've got parents, teachers, and students all sharing ideas with each other about what they're doing well and about what they can all do better to help the young people succeed. So there you have it. Tip number 1, the thing that makes the biggest difference and will help you achieve more in school is to improve the process of giving and receiving feedback. The second thing that makes a big difference and accelerates your progress in school and will help you get good grades in school, according to the Sutton Trust, is what they call Meta Cognition and self-regulation strategies. What the heck is that? Here's what it is. Metacognition is all about your deeper thinking patterns. In other words, instead of going to school and trying to figure out what to learn, it's all about how you learn. In other words, students that make good progress have good learning strategies. They know how to study. They have brilliant observation skills. They have great listening techniques. They have fantastic note-taking techniques. It's how you learn. They understand how to think critically about the information that they're receiving. In other words, they have strategies for analysis and critical thinking. They have creative thinking strategies. So you could give them a blank sheet of paper and give them a problem to solve, and they would have a method for knowing how to solve problems. On top of that, they then have memory techniques. So if you give them some information, they're not sat there going, I hope I remember it, I hope I remember it, because they actually have strategies like the journey technique, the PEG system, and umpteen other methods that are out there for improving your memory. These are metacognition strategies. And if you want to get good grades in school, you need to learn how to learn. If you learn how to learn, then it becomes easier when it comes to what to learn. It's no good your teachers giving you the content of the curriculum, teaching you foreign languages, musical instruments, sports, information about science, the body, the world, if you don't know how to learn and understand that information. The moment you start equipping yourself with effective learning strategies, your job in school gets a whole lot easier. So that's metacognition. The second part of it, if you remember, was about self-regulation. And what that means is that the researchers at Sutton Trust, and they did this research in conjunction with Durham University here in Britain, and they found that students that are able to self-regulate, in other words, that they're able to manage themselves, they don't need a teacher to tell them what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. They self-lead. They're proactive. But self-regulation's not just about your learning, it's about your emotions, because your emotions, I said this earlier, how you feel determines how you learn. So self-regulation means that you can stop yourself from getting stressed. You can stop yourself from getting worried and fearful and anxious and tense. And instead you can regulate your own emotions and stay calm. You can be composed under pressure. You can stay confident. You can believe in yourself. You can keep yourself going when the going gets tough. You don't need your mum or dad to hold your hand and guide you all the way. You don't need your teachers to keep telling you what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. You can self-regulate. Now, thankfully, there are dozens of simple techniques that you can do to master your own self-regulation. And I teach those through my app. If you wanted to learn more about some self-regulation techniques, then you could go to my app, download the free app, Unstoppable Teen. There's all kinds of free articles in the blog and other past podcast episodes that you could listen to. Also in the app, we have some in-app optional extra purchases, some in-app purchases that you can make. And I would encourage you to look at a technique, one of the in-app purchases that's called Boost. And Boost gives you some techniques that you can use that would help you regulate your emotions on a daily basis. The other thing I would encourage you to have a look at is another in-app purchase that we have that's called Believe. You don't necessarily need to get both of them, but pick one of them. Listen to the descriptions about the apps, and then once you've figured out which one you think is right for you, there's a little taster video inside the app that you can check it out. And once you decide which one you think is right for you, Boost or Believe, those are packed with techniques and simple things that you can do to improve your self-regulation strategies. And when you've got those emotional intelligence techniques, it then doesn't matter what your friends say or do and call you a nerd or a geek or a swot, or they try and distract you in lessons with some petty gossip or some incidental thing that's got nothing to do with the subject you're learning right there and then. Because you can self-regulate. You can get yourself moving in the right direction. That is the second thing that the Sutton Trust discovered makes the biggest difference to your grades in school. It's metacognition and self-regulation strategies. So be sure to equip yourself with those thinking and learning techniques and those emotional intelligence techniques to help yourself get better grades in school. The third thing that's been shown to make a big difference to your progress in school is what's called collaborative learning. What that means is learning together with groups of people. Sure, there are times when you might want to learn alone and you need some peace and some quiet where you can get on with things in some solitude so you can focus and concentrate. But what the researchers have discovered is that we tend to make more progress when we're learning together. You see, as human beings, we're connected beings. We're built to work based in relationships, in communities. And so collaborative learning is a really cool technique that you can use to accelerate your progress. What I recommend you do is you form yourself a little study group. And it works best when you have a different study group for each subject you're studying. So for example, if I were you, I'd be looking around my classroom and I'd be thinking, let's say it's a business studies lesson. You should be thinking to yourself, who are the other brilliant students in this room at business studies? And identify 2 or 3 of those people and agree to make a little business studies study group. But of course, the people that are brilliant at business studies aren't necessarily the same students that are going to be brilliant at art. And so if you're studying art, you need to look around the room and think, who are the best people in this room at art? Right, let's get a different study group together for art. And then you can do the same for all the subjects that you're studying. Whatever it is and whatever level of learning you're at, whether it's in high school, college, university, wherever, form a study group and learn together. And by learning together, the research shows that you accelerate your progress. Because what you can do is you can start supporting each other. People achieve more when they support and encourage each other. And so if you've got people that are encouraging you and you're encouraging them in return, and you can start to test and challenge each other, and then when you get confused, you can help each other solve the problems. You can work forwards. You see, it's not about teachers leading the learning. It's about students leading the learning. It's when students lead their learning and work together that magic happens. So I encourage you, as quickly as possible, to form your first collaborative learning study group. Do it for one subject to start with, and then as you find that it makes a difference, you can start pulling different friends together and different classmates together for different subjects to make more progress. Fourth and finally for this episode, the technique I want to give you that the Sutton Trust says, according to their research, makes the biggest difference to students achieving more is called peer tutoring. You know, in the last technique, it was all about collaborative learning. Now, peer tutoring is similar, but it's different. What the researchers at Durham University discovered, and again it was published by the Sutton Trust, they discovered that when one young person teaches another young person, those young people learn and grow at a faster rate than when adults do the teaching. I find that remarkable. But my question to you is, why do you think that happens? Why do you think young people are able to help each other learn at a faster rate than adults are able to help young people? And as you think about that, I'll give you some suggestions. You see, learning takes place when people are speaking the same language as each other. Now, I don't mean to sound silly here. It would obviously be ridiculous if there was a teacher in a classroom talking in German if they were surrounded by Korean students, right? I don't mean that a German teacher is speaking German to German students and a Korean teacher is speaking Korean to Korean students. Here's what I mean by language. Different generations use different words and different phrases. Different generations have had different experiences. They use different metaphors. They tell different stories. And so you see, a young person has the same language as their peers. And so when one 15-year-old starts teaching another 15-year-old, it's easier for them to understand each other because they use the same language, they use the same technology, they say the same stories, they can use the same sorts of anecdotes about celebrities and music and movies. And so therefore the learning starts to happen easier and faster than when an adult tries to do the teaching. So here's what I want to encourage you to do. I want to encourage you to be aware of which subjects you're good at. And in those subjects, find opportunities to teach your friends that aren't quite as good at those subjects. So for example, I used to be good at football. And so what I used to do is I used to teach other friends how to improve at football. And by me coaching them, by me showing them some little tricks and some techniques about how to pass and receive the ball, how to head the ball, how to shoot and score and defend, and how to do the skills of football, I, as a young person, was able to help them, as other young people, make good progress. In return, my friend Matt was brilliant at mathematics, and I wasn't. So I might teach him football, and he might teach me mathematics. And he would teach me how to do algebra and quadratic equations and all kinds of other stuff that I really struggled at. Now, when teenagers teach each other, a remarkable thing happens. You might think that most progress is experienced by the person receiving the help. So when Matt was helping me improve mathematics, you might think that I improved the most at mathematics. But you'd be wrong. You see, the person doing the teaching gains most of the benefits. And here's why. In order to truly master a subject, the best way to learn something is to teach it to somebody else. In some research that I read about peer group tutoring and peer mentoring, I found that, on average, the students doing the receiving had a 1 to 3 percentage point gain on their grades. But the young person doing the teaching, on average, had a 10 percentage point gain on their grades. So you've got to find ways to not just be coached and mentored by your peers. That will help you a little bit. But what you've got to really do is find a way to coach, mentor, and teach your peers. Because it's when you teach something that you learn it the most. There you go, folks. That was the fourth and the final strategy I'm going to share with you that will help you improve your progress, as proven and documented by Durham University and the Sutton Trust. So let's do a quick review. The top 4 strategies. If you want to get good grades in school, you must, first of all, number 1, be giving and receiving feedback with your parents, with your teachers, and with students. It's those common dialogues about what you're doing well and what you could do better that really makes a big difference. Secondly, it's about metacognition and self-regulation strategies. You have to equip yourself with better learning skills, how to observe, how to take notes, how to critically think, how to creatively think, how to memorize things. And as well as those metacognition strategies, it's about self-regulation, where you can take control of your emotions and you can lead yourself rather than waiting for your teachers or your parents to tell you what to do. The third thing was all about collaborative learning. Learning on projects in groups, where different students have different responsibilities and they help each other master a subject and complete a project together. And fourth, and finally, peer tutoring, where you don't just receive help from your friends, but you give help to your friends. If you want to learn something, teach it. And incidentally, on that one, you don't have to teach people of the same age. You could teach younger students. You could teach older students. You could teach something to your parents. You could teach something to your teachers. What matters is that you start helping others. And when you mentor other people, your grades will go up. If you'd like to know more about how to implement these strategies into your own habits, I want to encourage you to do two things. First of all, if you're a member of the general public, go ahead and download the free Unstoppable Teen app. For those self-regulation strategies, you're going to want to get either Boost or Believe as an in-app purchase. If you want to improve your metacognition skills, if you want some memory techniques, some study skills, you're going to want to get the Grades You Want in-app purchase. In Get the Grades You Want, I share 7 strategies that anybody can use when you're preparing for a test or an exam. These are the same strategies that I used when I was in high school to improve my grades in 8 subjects in my last 6 months. They're the techniques that I learned from other brilliant people that enabled me to turn my French grade from an E to a B, and my business studies grade went from a grade D to a grade A in less than 6 months, using the strategies that are in the Get the Grades You Want program. Now, of course, I can't promise that you'll get the same grades that I got, but at least you'll be equipping yourself with some strategies that have been proven to work in the past. If you're a teacher, it might be that you want to invite me to come into your school so I can show your students and your teachers, your colleagues, how to embed some of these proven strategies into your school, into your curriculum, into your community's culture, so that on a regular basis in the classrooms in your school, students and parents and teachers are giving and receiving feedback. They've got a whole suite of metacognition and self-regulation strategies. They're collaboratively learning together, and they're peer tutoring, teaching each other. If you'd like me to come to your school and share these strategies in person, please go to unstoppableschools.com to find out more. If you found the information in this episode useful, please do share it with other people you know that want to get good grades in school. You know, whether that's family members, whether it's your friends, whether it's your teachers, hit the forward button, hit the share button, and please do us a favour. If you liked it, go to SoundCloud or go to iTunes and give us a favourable review. 5 stars, it's always good. And of course, the more ratings that we get, the more listeners we're likely to attract. You know we're on a mission to make a difference and help as many young people as we can. So please do share this. And if you want to learn more, then go to the show notes for this episode. You can go to unstoppableteen.com/15. And there you will find the notes and links to all the things that we've talked about in this episode. Perhaps the most important thing of all is to not just know this stuff, but use it. When you go to school tomorrow, when your children go to school tomorrow, when you start teaching tomorrow, start finding ways to embed these 4 things: feedback, metacognition and self-regulation, collaborative learning, and peer tutoring. Use these techniques because these are the things that have been proven to make the biggest difference. These make more difference than homework. They help people achieve more in school than field trips. They might not be sexy, they might not be cool, they might not be commonplace, but they are the things that researchers have shown make the biggest difference. So before you do anything else to improve your grades, I hotly recommend that you try for yourself these 4 strategies and monitor your progress. If they work, keep doing more of them. If they don't work for you, then get in touch with the Sutton Trust and tell them it was all nonsense. My experience is that where I help schools embed these things, students accelerate their progress, and they're like little magic beans. It's like magic fairy dust. They work. So without further ado, I shall look forward to seeing you soon in a future episode where we'll help you become truly unstoppable. Bye for now.